Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. On this side, need to go. Haribol. On this side. You can get that chair if you want. Just, yeah, that's a better one. This is a men-women thing. Yashodanandana Bhajana Randana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Randana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Mr. Pad Paramahansa Padurikacharya Ashtottara Shishimad. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurikacharya Ashtottara Shishimad. Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, so we'll be on page 396 today. Hopefully no one picked up that other book. I didn't take it home with me. It was there with a different title. We had the wrong title on it. Oh, that's the problem. All right. Hopefully we're all on the same page. This is text 15 of the 9th chapter. Yeah, text 15. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On his 21st day of January 2020 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, text 15 on page 396. Jnana yagyena chapyanye yajanto mam upasate ekatvena pratakvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Jnana yagyena chapyanye yajanto mam upasate ekatvena pratakvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Jnana yagyena chapyanye yajanto mam upasate ekatvena pratakvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Haribol, Manji. Sorry. Jnana yagyena chapyanye yajanto mam upasate ekadvena prataktvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Jnana yajnena chapyanye yajanto mam upasate ekadvena prataktvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Jnana yajnena chapyanye yajanto mam upasate ekadvena prataktvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Okay, word by words. You all have books. I'll just read. You read silently. Jnana yajnena, by cultivation of knowledge. Cha, also. Api, certainly. Anye, others. Yajantaha, sacrificing. Mam, me. Upasate, worship. Ekatvena, in oneness. Pritatvena, in duality. Bahuda, in diversity. Vishvataha, mukham, and in the universal form. Translation. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many, and in the universal form. Purport. This verse is the summary of the previous verses. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma. Yet there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financially destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and these are divided into three. 1. He who worships himself as one with the Supreme. 2. The Supreme Lord. 2. He who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that. And 3. He who accepts the universal form, the Vishwarupa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worships that. Out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monists, are most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord. And in this mentality, they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they can understand that they are not the material body, but are actually spiritual soul. At least such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class includes the worshippers of the demigods, those who by imagination consider any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord. And the third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity and worship that. The universe is also a form of the Lord. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, Krishna is contrasting these others who worship him in kind of an indirect way with those who he described in text 13:14. Text 13, O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. And what do? Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. But there are others who are not out-and-out atheists, but and they, for some one reason or another, they decline to worship Krishna directly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here Prabhupada describes these different classes. One who worships himself as one with the Supreme. So this is a common fallacy. This is kind of the impersonalist fallacy, that I am spirit, aham brahmasmi, the Supreme is Brahman, right? Brahman is actually one of the three manifestations of the Supreme, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So since I am Brahman, and Brahman is God, I am God, and so I'll worship myself. Clearly, this is not going to produce any kind of reciprocation from the Lord, in which we could possibly call it bhakti. It's more of a sign of envy of the actual Lord, because what does it mean when Krishna says daivim prakritim ashrita, to take shelter of the divine energy? That divine energy is Srimati Radharani, who is personification of devotional service. And the actual way of approaching Krishna is to recognize that he is supreme. This is the first basic understanding. He is the supreme, all-powerful, as he's been describing here, and I am very, very tiny. And part and parcel of, so my duty, my proper position, my real dharma is to serve. Just as Prabhupada gave the analogy a million times, the different parts of the body, the hand is in its proper position when it serves the needs of the body. When I want to do something, it picks up the water, does this, does a million different things. So that it's in its not proper situation. But if it has its own idea, or that I'm one with the whole body, you know the story, Prabhupada, I forget to say the Sanskrit or Bengali, but the senses go on strike. You know, they realize the hands, the feet, everything is working so hard to get money, to go to Trader Joe's, to buy the food, prepare it, and put it in the stomach. And the stomach enjoys everything. So they go on strike. We want to enjoy directly. We once had there was a devotee here, you may have seen it, he must have come to L.A. Pani Bhushan, you remember Pani Bhushan? I don't know if you remember him. He was, at one point he was traveling with the India Fest from Madhua's thing coming out of North Carolina. They come every year. And he has a real flair for drama. You know, he's kind of a showman, but very nicely. He's in the Latra now, I see him when I go. So he put on a play right here, a one-man play of this rebellious senses. I forget what it is in Sanskrit. So here's the table, visualize a table. And on the table there's some fruit. He has a nice bowl of bananas and an apple like that. So he's playing the rebellious senses. So he's hidden. There's a kind of a big tablecloth, and he's underneath the table. And so the hand comes up out of the table, you know, finds the banana, you know, peels the banana and starts squishing it. And this is illustrating, I forgot what the narration was, I think it was giving narration from it, showing how the senses, the hands can't enjoy separately. It's a big mistake. You see, when the senses go on strike, they're trying to enjoy directly, but their real enjoyment is to take the banana and put it into the mouth and feed it to the stomach, so then the energy comes and the hands are nourished. You see? The same principle, there's a verse about that in the 4th canto. I think it's coming up in our morning class. We're getting into that section of the 4th canto. And it says, Yatat, Narada Muni is teaching King Prachachinabharishat. Because the same idea comes up with this elaborate service to all the different demigods, trying to make sure that, you know, you're well situated in this life and the next. You know, this is the idea. It's karma kanda. But here, Narada Muni tells King Prachachinabhari, he's trying to convince him to give up all this elaborate demigod worship and just worship Krishna. Yata tado mula nishecharena tripyanti tatskanda bhujopashaka pranopahara chayatindriyanam tataiva sarvahana machyuteja. So he uses this analogy of the feeding the stomach. First he is watering the root of the tree. Watering the root of the tree. You know, anyone who's lived a little while in this world knows that in order for a garden or for a forest to prosper, you have to water. It has to be applied to the root, right? So yata toror mula nishechanena, just as watering the root of a tree or feeding the stomach. Yata toror mula nishechanena tripyandi tatskanda bhujopashaka. When you water the root of a tree, then the water He picks up nourishment also. And Prabhu, please sit on a little seat. We have so many. Yeah, you can get one. So the branches, the leaves, the twigs, the fruits, flowers, everything gets nourished by just that one act, right? Similarly, by feeding the stomach, pranopaharas, chayatendriyanam, the senses become nourished just by feeding the stomach. Oh, digestion happens, the blood, everything, things are going on normally, right? Similarly, by serving Achyuta, Krishna, all the demigods are satisfied. And you can prosper. As far as your material prosperity goes, that's the way to do it. Now, what's the pastime? Hint, hint. Look at the corners. Where Krishna was teaching, we don't have to worship the demigods, right? Worship the cows, worship the Brahmins, worship Govardhan Hill, worship me, but forget about Indra. Now, it's interesting that when Krishna was convincing his father not to do that, and the other elders of Vrindavan, just try to imagine the scene. On a material level, they've been doing this for a long time. This is normally what happens in an agricultural community, is that you have to worship Indra. He's in charge of the rains. Rains are the basis of all agriculture. So it's like paying the taxes, right? Paying the taxes. So little Krishna comes along, he's 10 years old. And the way Prabhupada tells it, at first, he asked, what's going on? What are you doing? And at first they thought, he really can't understand this. It's like a little boy comes up to the kitchen table, his father's figuring out the taxes, right? Coming up on April 15th as the taxes are due. And he wants to know what's going on. How's he going to understand, right? So first he's reluctant to tell him. And then, Father, I'm part of the family. You should tell me, what's going on. He says, okay, we're worshiping Indra. We have to worship Indra because Indra gives us the rain, and the rain is important for agriculture. So then Krishna, what he started speaking? Atheist philosophy called Karma Mimamsa. There's all kinds of philosophies in India. One of them is Karma Mimamsa, which is pretty atheistic. What it says is, look, even if there is a god or gods, they're completely controlled by karma. Whatever you do, it's just like they're functionaries. You go to the DMV, you have an appointment, you have all your papers in order, you have your fee, you have your credit card. So the clerk can decide to say, no, I don't want to serve you. I don't like the way you look. I don't like your haircut. They have to do what they're supposed to do, right? So similarly, Indra is just like a clerk, according to your karma, you're going to get, the rain's going to come or not. So just do your work nicely, So instead of worshipping Indra, worship Govardhan Hill and the cows. Cows are really our source of prosperity, and the Brahmins, feed them nicely and perform this nice ceremony. And that will please me very much, Father. And, So the way Prabhupada tells it, they said, okay. We'll have a separate sacrifice, but let us do this one first. So no, there's no time. That will take much time. Use this very paraphernalia you collected for the Indra Yajna for worshipping Govardhan Hill. Now, Krishna had, as he's expert, he had many reasons, many purposes in this doing. One was to, illustrate you don't have to worship the demigods. Another was to bring Indra down a few notches, because he tends to get very proud. And so you can imagine, they collected this nice Indra Yajna all previous years, he enjoyed the remnants of the sacrifice, and now the same paraphernalia is going to be used to worship Govardhan Hill. So Indra, he's covered by his pride, and he can't recognize that this is God, that this is his master. And so this is one of the reasons. So he goes completely overboard, he sends these clouds to destroy the entire coward community. So Indra, so Krishna, of course, he lifts up with one pinky the whole hill and protects the coward community for a week. So this is in the Bhagavad Gita, we're getting the philosophy behind it, that everything is coming from Krishna. He's the master. Whatever the demigods are giving you, it's actually coming from Krishna. He says that directly in this chapter. You see? So therefore, don't divert your attention. Because as soon as you divert your attention to the gods, what's the motivation? It's a material motivation. You see, I need something, I want something, therefore I'll worship this one, worship that one. You remember when if you're here in the morning after the Mangalarti and after the Tulsi Puja, we do the 10 offenses. So the second offense is to consider the names of the demigods equal to or independent of the holy name of Vishnu. Now you'll find sometimes, in Hindu temples, I've been to several temples like this, there's usually Lakshmi Narayan in the middle, But then you have Shiva over here, and then you have Ganesh, maybe, and there's a couple other, gods, Kali, maybe there, and just to cover all the bases. This is called seeing equating the name of Krishna with the names of the demigods, equal to or independent of. There's two different things. One is equal to. You can chant any name. Just help you concentrate. I've experienced that idea. Way back before I even visited the temple, this is in latter 72. I visited the very elaborate and well-appointed headquarters of the Ramakrishna Mission in New York, up on 92nd Street on the east side, which is right in the middle of the very high-class section of New York. And I began going there regularly. There was Prabhupada had met the head of that place, who had since he had a stroke, he retired, but he was still there, Nikalananda, and he would come to the lunches. You would see him. He had a stroke, wouldn't talk, but his replacement had arrived from India, young man who'd been practicing yoga in the Himalayas. He had some powers. He read my mind. He told me where I worked, or what I worked at, which blew me away. And I became, oh, wow, he's got some power. So I started becoming there, So, but I was also getting, by my good fortune, one of the other fellows who were coming there, his name was Gandhi, a young man, who was totally into Ram Leela. Whenever he had a chance, he would tell me about Ram, and this and that. And he was the one who first got me to go down to the temple in Brooklyn. He knew about it. So in the afternoon, Sunday afternoon, they would have their dinner at around 1 o'clock. And then we'd say, well, let's go down to the Harekrishna temple. We have another dinner. I had a car, so we'd drive down to Brooklyn, and maybe 15-minute drive. And that's where I, started to pick up some books and everything, and I got the Harekrishna mantra. But I was still very attracted to this other place. So one day I come there, and I wanted to chant. Had my rounds. I wasn't chanting 16 rounds, but I was chanting some rounds. And there was the Yatamat Tatapat thing. This is Ramakrishna. Yatamat, whatever is your path, that's good for you. So we have a bhakti section, we have a Mayavad section, we have all this. So they were saying, okay, you can chant Hare Krishna. I was chanting. I said, do you have some kind of image of Krishna or something? I'd like to chant it. Yeah. We have a room upstairs on the top floor where you have a nice little murti of Krishna. I don't have to call it a murti statue. You can sit up there and chant. So I went all the way up there, and it was a nice little room, and there was alone, it was a singular little image, a statue of Krishna, all white, wasn't dressed or anything. I said, okay, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I chanted a couple of rounds, then I kind of stopped, and I looked carefully. There was 2 inches of dust. They weren't taking care. They didn't believe it was God. It's just a meditative aid. So this was exactly the idea. You read in Srila Prabhupada's books, that they think that the bhaktas are very emotional. If you're that, you need this, fine. But the real thing is gyan. What did we just read? Gyana yajnana chapyane, right? Those who feel that the development of knowledge, that's really where it's at. And he told me this directly. And when I started to get attracted to Krishna, he thought he would try to break that attachment by criticizing the devotees and criticizing them. But instead it pushed me away, and I was very fortunate to then take shelter of the devotees. But that whole idea that bhakti is for the sentimental masses, the real elite, they go after gyan, this pure gyan, merging into Brahman. That's really where it's completely misguided. So but here's a mamupasate. In this way they worship me, but they're worshiping indirectly. This is a common thing. Now, there is a verse where Narada Muni tells Vyasadeva in the first canto. He says, Idam vishram Bhagavan ivetara. This is the beginning. For Idam Vishram Bhagavan Nivetara. That this universe, Vishram, is a form of Bhagavan, although it seems to be something else. Eva Itara. Itara means other, you see? And we've already learned some of that in the 7th chapter. When we learn that Bhumar Apa Onanovayo Kangmano Buddhadevacha, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, all of these are my separated material energies. And why do we need to know that? How can that help us? Because we can see Krishna in those elements as we relate to them. That's why a little later he says, Rasoham Apsakonteya. When you taste water, that's me. Rasoham. I am the taste in that water. I am the light of the sun and the moon. I am the fragrance of earth. I am the intelligence of the intelligent. In other words, we encounter Krishna constantly through his energies, but we don't perceive Krishna there. We're just looking at the energies. We're trying to separate the energies from Krishna. This is the essence of our illusion and our entanglement in the material world. Bhakti Yoga teaches us how to reconnect the very things that we've experienced all day to Krishna. You see? That's why I point out this temple, or even just our own bodies, the temple of the body. We have so many facilities. We can hear a million different things, see whatever we want, we can think whatever we want. But if we learn how to chant those sounds and hear those sounds and see those sights and see the world through the eyes of knowledge, so that we're seeing God in the world, not in the sense of this Bahoda Vishvatomukam, worshiping the universe itself as God, but seeing it as related to Him, as His energies, and therefore, the next conclusion, the essential conclusion, therefore it should be used in His service. That's what will elevate our consciousness. And the idea is that by acting according to the way that Krishna recommends and is taught by the great acharyas, Krishna from within the heart will enlighten us and give us more and more experience of Him, both directly through our heart and through all of these agencies that He's provided that we can connect with Him. So here he's saying this is now, and Krishna will show the fallacy of these in the next few verses. Says, yeah, you may worship me in this way, that way, but I'm the healing herb, I am the fire, I am all of these things. You're really just failing to see my personal personality within all of these things. And so this indirect way is not going to, prolongs our stay in this material world. We don't want to worship Krishna indirectly. We want to worship Him directly. That's what will produce the bhakti, and that's what will produce the purification. So Krishna has explained this is all part of the confidential knowledge, how to see Him everywhere and not be diverted into worshiping the gods, worshiping the universe, worshiping ourselves. That's not going to help us. Any questions? Comments? Shall we go? Yes, Mataji. Do they accumulate karma? I don't think so. I've never heard that. That they're fulfilling a certain role. They're usually sakama. They have a certain desire. It's like Indra. To become a demigod, you really have to desire to rule. To be in charge of something. But because they're sakama, they are subject to. The demons take over the heavenly planets. Indra's, position is being challenged. There's all of these other things going on. But at the same time, they're servants of the Lord. And so, they're not really in as good a position as some of the, like the 6 Goswamis. They're in a much better position, a much more exalted state than these demigods. But they're not accumulating karma. I mean, in many ways, they're serving to fulfill the karma of human beings. This is the place where you accumulate karma, good or bad, and then it's rewarded either on the heavenly planets or you're sent to the lower place, like that, or more difficult situation on earth. So that's as far as I know about that. They're not getting karma. They're agents of fulfilling the karma of the human beings. All right, let's go on. Text 16. Aham kraturaham yagya swadaham aham aushadam Mantroham aham evajyam. Aham agnir aham hutam. But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering. Purport. The Vedic sacrifice known as Jyotishtoma is also Krishna, and he is also the Mahayagya mentioned in the Smriti. The oblations offered to the Pitraloka, or the sacrifice performed to please the Pitraloka, considered as a kind of drug in the form of clarified butter, is also Krishna. The mantras chanted in this connection are also Krishna. And many other commodities made with milk products for offering in the sacrifices are also Krishna. The fire is also Krishna because fire is one of the 5 material elements and is therefore claimed as the separated energy of Krishna. In other words, the Vedic sacrifices recommended in the Karma Kanda division of the Vedas are in total also Krishna. Or in other words, those who are engaged in rendering devotional service unto Krishna are to be understood to have performed all the sacrifices recommended in the Vedas. So isn't that encouraging? We don't have to go through all that, or we already have been through it. As Devahuti tells her son, Kapila Dev, Aho batash pachoto gariyan jigvagre vartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juhavustastaraya brahmanucho namagunantiyete. Oh, how wonderful it is that even if one is in the level of the chandalas in the lower class, if the holy name, your holy name, she's speaking to her son Kapila Dev, who's an incarnation of Krishna, is somehow dancing on the tip of their tongue, then they must have performed all kinds of sacrifices and bathed in all the holy places, performed all austerities in the previous life. Te pustapajejuhu sasnararya brahmanujo namagunantiyete. So the idea is that after all is said and done, and we go through all of these diversions, the ultimate status is mentioned at the end of this chapter. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyati mam namaskaram. Just think of me, become my devotee, bow down to me and worship me, and you'll come to me. There's no higher goal than to come to Krishna in the spiritual world, and then you don't come back. You go to Indraloka, you come back. You go to Brahmaloka, you come back. You go to Patalaloka, hopefully you'll come back soon enough. You always come back here to the earth where it's the field of karma, where you have another chance, Otherwise, in the higher planets, they generally don't take up pure bhakti. It's just too nice there. It's just the pleasure, you live for such a long time, and it's an ideal situation. Lower planets is too frightening and crazy. You need some kind of peace. Here, there's bad and good. You can see, the difficulties, the threefold miseries. But if you really want to, Krishna will provide a situation where you can practice bhakti yoga. So this is the chance right now. We have the best situation. Okay, so what does he say? Kratur, Vyagya, all of these are different elements of the ritual, and Krishna's there in every one of them. When is he not there? Our whole problem is separating the energies from the energetic. This verse from the 11th canto, what's the source of fear? Bhayam tutiya abhinaveshita ksyad ishadapeta sivapariyosmati. Tutiya abhinaveshita. Tutiya is the second thing. That's the material energy. Abhinaveshita means become absorbed. When we ishadapetasya, we turn away from Krishna, we turn our back on Krishna, we want to forget him so that we can try to enjoy, we become absorbed in his energy and forget all about the energetic. That's the source of fear. We lose our, we never lose our connection, but we can lose our consciousness of that connection with Krishna. And that produces fear. Just like a child, suddenly feels that they're lost, They may just be, a little child in the basement somewhere, but suddenly they feel that they can't contact their parents, and that element of fear comes in. And what's the first thing they do? Wailing away, right? Help, crying, and then the parents find it's okay, we're here, and they come down. So just to feel that you're separated, just to forget that you're protected, is the source of all fear, and that's what is the 9 Yogendras are saying here. Bhayam. Everything becomes upside down. Meaning that instead of your sense of you being a servant of the Lord, you forget about the Lord and you try to be a master. Instead of seeing the pleasures of this world for what they are, which is sources of misery, you think, oh, this is the source of my pleasure. This is where I'm going to find Ananda. This is the bliss I'm looking for. Everything is upside down. Akrura has a nice prayer like that. Anityanatma dukkeshu viparya materia. Notice that word viparya. Viparya means just the opposite. So anityanatma dukkeshu viparya yatayaham dvandvaramas tamavishto najane tvatmanak priyam. He's famous for prayers. He's offering his prayers to Krishna in the Yamuna. Akrura was sent by Kamsa from Mathura to Vrindavan to bring Krishna back to Mathura for the wrestling match. So there's this whole incredible scene of the separation from the gopis. They don't want him to go, but he has to go because he has to save his parents. The parents, Vasudeva and Devaki, they're in jail and everything. So anyway, he eventually goes, and along the way, they stop at the Yamuna and bathe. And Akrura goes in and he sees Krishna as Sankrishan, I think, resting. Nice to see. On Balaram, who's in the form of Ananta Shesha, the bed. So he offers these prayers. He's famous for prayers. He has about 3 or 4 sets of prayers. So in the middle of these prayers, he has this beautiful verse. He's identifying with the conditioned souls. We're on page 396, by the way. Oh, okay. So he's identifying with the as a conditioned soul. So he says, "My dear Lord, anitya natma dukkeshu vipaya materiam. I'm everything is reversed in my consciousness. That which is temporary, anitya, I'm taking to be permanent. My house, my household, everything, all of this. Anatma, that which I am not, the body, I'm taking to be me. And that which is sources of misery, I'm taking to be sources of pleasure." This is the real clincher, And in this illusory state, dvandva aramos, I am trying to enjoy the dualities of this world. Dvandva arama, you see? And entering tamodvishta, entering more and more into darkness. And the greatest tragedy of all, najane tvatmanak priyam, I've completely forgotten that you are my dearmost Lord and Master and friend. That's it. This is what Akrura prays. And then he compares himself, and this analogy is often given, to a foolish animal, or a foolish person, a foolish man, anyone, who's visualized this desert, and there's an oasis in the desert. And I'm standing at the edge of the oasis, and I'm thirsty. I'm looking out in the desert, where at my feet is a nice cool pool of water, pure water, but it's overgrown with plants, so I can't see it. So I look out into that desert, and seems to be a lake right there in the middle of the desert. The mirage. I run out into the desert in search of the mirage. When I get there, what's there? Just sand. You see? That's exactly our situation. We have the reservoir of pleasure in our heart. Krishna's there, I think the super soul, or even the Shyamasundar form. If we're pure, we can see him in that form. And he's just ready to take us back if we turn our attention to him and serve him and chant his name and do everything in the bhakti. But, nobody in the material world knows that. We've forgotten that. So we're looking out into this desert of this world, looking for pleasure. And we'll find little flickering pleasure here and there, maya sukhaya. And it keeps us going life after life. Somehow we can be happy here. But you can't. Because time is always there destroying everything. And so it's a grand illusion. This is Maya's trick. So we need to take shelter of the Daivi Prakriti, not the Mohini Prakriti. This is the whole teaching from text 12 and 13. Remember how we got here to this point. Is Krishna was saying, Maya Yakshena Prakriti Sui, I am overseeing this whole material energy. The whole world is operating according to me. But those who are, what do you call, Asuri, Rakshasim, Abhinananti Mamudha, Manushim Tanamashatam. When I appear as a human being, those of demoniac vision, they deride me. They think I'm an ordinary human being or whatever, like that, or some myth. And their efforts, their hopes for success in this world are all mogha. Text 12. Mogasha, moga karmana, moga jnana. They're all bewildered. All the aspirations that we see all around us, big and small, the big plans, how we're going to, enjoy or create this, go to the moon, whatever it is. They're all frustrated. And their attempts at knowledge are all frustrated. They have the nature of man-eaters and demons. Rakshasi. And the key is prakriti mohinim shrita. You're taking shelter of the bewildering material energy. In other words, you're looking to that for your safety, and that for your source of pleasure and happiness. On the other hand, those who are daivi prakriti mashrita are called mahatmas. Not asuras, not rakshasas, not demons, but they're mahatmas. They taking shelter of that divine energy. That's radharani. That's the internal energy. That's devotional service. And how do they prove it? Bhajanjanana manasa. They worship me without deviated mind, understanding that I'm the source of everything. You see? How do they worship? Key verse, text 14. Satatam kirtayanto mam. They're always chanting my glories. Prabhupada had a correspondence with one professor who saw the devotees dancing and chanting, I think in Berkeley or something like that. And he was, was curious. It wasn't that challenging. So, I don't see anything like that, all this chanting and dancing. He thought he was familiar with the Vedas and the Upanishads and everything. Bhagavad Gita. But I said, yes, look here. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Text 14, this previous verse. Always chanting my glories, kirtan. Endeavoring with great determination, bowing down to me in bhakti, nitya yukta. They're always linked to me in that way. This is the confidential knowledge. And then today we began reading text 15. But there are others who are not quite on that point, jnana yagena. They want to try to understand the absolute by the strength of their own effort, of their brain power. They worship me indirectly in this way, as the universe, one and different, and so where they worship themselves. In other words, they're not really fully taking shelter. So the idea is that Krishna is everything. Whatever we're thinking we can enjoy or control separately from Him, that's a grand illusion, and that's where we cut ourselves off from bhakti. So the idea here, and as Krishna will emphasize it now in text 17 and on, is that wherever you look, if you're trying to get something out of this material world or material energy or from the gods, it's all coming from me. Just come to me directly, and you'll get the greatest boon. You'll get out of this world entirely. You come back home, back to Godhead, and all of your aspirations for happiness will be fulfilled and for eternity. This is the great promise of the Bhagavad Gita. So this 9th chapter is so key, the most confidential knowledge. In every case, he's bringing us back to the simple, I think of me, become my devotee, worship me. This is the root, the humble recognition of our real nature. We're not masters, we're not, supreme Brahman, we're not, this is all the grand illusion that keeps us bound in this material world. Any discussion on these points? Krishna will now just identify himself with a lot of other things. Text 17, Pitaham masya jagato Mata data pitamaha Vejam pavitram omkara Riksama yajat evacha. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajurvedas. Jamal, can you ask them? They don't know. It's coming through that. They have that door open and talking. Just ask them to close the door to the altar. That's when it's coming. Purport. The entire cosmic manifestations, moving and non-moving, are manifested by different activities of Krishna's energy. In the material existence, we create different relationships with different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy. Under the creation of Prakriti, some of them appear as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. But actually, they are parts and parcels of Krishna. As such, these living entities who appear to be our father, mother, etc., are nothing but Krishna. In this verse, the word dhata means creator. Not only are our father and mother parts and parcels of Krishna, but the creator, grandmother, and grandfather, etc., are also Krishna. Actually, any living entity being part and parcel of Krishna is Krishna. All the Vedas, therefore, aim only toward Krishna. Whatever we want to know through the Vedas is but a progressive step toward understanding Krishna. The subject matter which helps us purify our constitutional position is especially Krishna. Similarly, the living entity who is inquisitive to understand all Vedic principles is also part and parcel of Krishna, and as such is also Krishna. In all the Vedic mantras, the word Om, called Pranava, is a transcendental sound vibration and is also Krishna. And because in all the hymns of the four Vedas, the Sama, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva, the Pranava or Omkara is very prominent, so these four Vedas are also understood to be Krishna. If you notice, that last line has been adjusted. It was a mistake. He's going through systematically showing you all these things, so it's those four Vedas that are Krishna because Omkara is very prominent in them. So, everything is Krishna. That's the point here. But, so this is the vision of the Bhagavad, you know. You just see God everywhere and in everything. But not in an impersonal way. To see Krishna's hand in everything. And whenever possible, to see an opportunity for serving Krishna. Sometimes that service just takes the form of just seeing the world through the eyes of the Bhagavad Gita. You know, in the second canto, we have the first step of God realization, and there's a fairly elaborate description of the universal form, where you see the rivers as the veins of the universal form, the sun and the moon as the eyes, and like that, you know. The mountains as the bones. So what is the purpose of that? It says right there, right in the text, that it's imaginary, you know. So why do we have to worry about it? Because it helps us to train the mind to see God everywhere, in the simplest term. To see this world as kind of the external body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just as our own body is not really us, I mean like that, but it's moved by the soul, because the soul is here, therefore we're moving. So similarly, because Krishna is present in this universe, therefore everything is working beautifully, you know. So to sacralize your vision, you know, sublimate all of your activities in relation to the Lord. In the 11th canto, in this Nine Yogendras section, it says one who is really Krishna conscious offers obeisance to everything as a manifestation of the Supreme. In other words, this is real environmental thinking. This is real, you know, to see there's a certain balance here. Just as in your body, there's a certain balance. And if you do something that's not good for you, then it gets out of balance. There's too much one and another and you get sick. So this is what we're seeing today. People are not seeing this world as sacred, as, you know, as something that we should live in a very harmonious way with. Rather, they're trying to exploit as much as possible, polluting here and there, you know, just so we can extract this ore, that ore, whatever it may be, the oil. It's and destroying the balance of the world. It's becoming unlivable. So that's what happens when the demons are in charge. We're powerful enough. We have the power to exploit. Look, we can do so much. We don't care about God, or we care enough only to go to the church once a week so that we look religious, because that's good for PR. You know, that's the demonic view. Look at chapter 16, Dumbo Darpo Bimanas. So nature, because it's empowered by Krishna, always wins in the end. She always wins. You know, what's going to happen? You know, I mean, when things become so, of course, we're hoping that, you know, by the spread of Krishna consciousness, things won't happen like that. But it looks like, you know, temperature's going up, the oceans are getting warmer and warmer, pollution is going everywhere, and demons are in charge for now, you know. So what is that? What's going on? They're not respecting the true balance, the natural balance. They're not worshiping Krishna, living simply as possible, and harmoniously on the earth. You read about in the Bhagavatam how the reign of Yudhishthira, the reign of Prithu, all these great kings, the demigods cooperated. The rain came at the right amount at the right time, not too much, not too little, and nature provided a bounty for the people. And most importantly, the leader was seeing to the people's not material as well as spiritual benefit. That was the motivation for activities. Not how much can I extract, from my little class we can become billionaires and everyone else can go to hell. You can see it, right? Bhagavatam is being enacted right outside our door here. So what's the countervailing force? Hare Krishna. It's actually, it seems hopeless. Are we really that far away from the little band of devotees in 26th Avenue, or think we're going to take over the world? I mean, we were actually, Prabhupada was able to infuse that confidence in us. But really, it's a miracle how we've covered it 55 years, 54 years, that is all over the world. People are chanting Hare Krishna. This knowledge is being disseminated. This is the only hope. There's no other hope. Political adjustment, this or that movement is not going to work. It hasn't worked before and it never will. It has to be Krishna's plan, and he gives it very, very distinctly here and in the other books of Srila Prabhupada. And it begins, with our understanding our own position, and all of these, wonderful explanations in Bhagavad Gita, as Srila Prabhupada has given them, of how we should focus ultimately on that one point of glorifying Krishna, acting according to his desires and desires of his representatives, so that we can train ourselves to live in this world as successfully as possible. Meaning that we'll be progressing in our devotional life and our understanding of Krishna, hopefully to the point where we can not come back, you see, and helping as many others to become Krishna conscious. That's part of it. That's part of what pleases Krishna. That's part of the mission. And so seeing, Pitaham Astya Jagato, I'm the father of the whole universe, the mother, the grandfather. If we actually believe that, and we're working for Krishna's cause, then we'll feel as secure as you can be in this material world. Understanding that whatever happens, our future is very bright. I told my mother that. My mother passed away about 14 years ago now, in 2006. She was 96, and she, when I joined, I think I experienced kind of a classic situation. My father, I joined, he was, I'd say that was 1973, he passed away in 87. So for those 14 years, whenever I saw him, it was always, when are you coming out of that thing, My mother, she was just wanted to know, are you happy and healthy? Are you eating okay? She got the BTG magazine, and I remember she took care of my father, very saintly woman, until he passed away in 87, and she lived another 20 years after that. And, gradually old age came in. But whenever I saw her, and I tried to give her Krishna consciousness, I remember near the end there, she was in a hospice situation, and I said, Mom, it's time to chant japa. And at that point, she was like, oh, okay, what should we do? So, we didn't have beads or anything, and she couldn't see that well. So I would chant the mantra, but she could only do like 2 words at a time. Hare Krishna. Then she would say, Hare Krishna. She was like totally into it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna. It went on for about 5 minutes that way. I have a recording of it. And that was like 2 weeks before she passed. So that was like, well, okay, I couldn't be there at the end. She was with my brother. But I told her, so because she was always thinking, and here she is, the end, and she's thinking, well, what now? What's the plan? In other words, she's. I said, Mom, you have a very bright future. I try to explain, just everything is going to, because just to be how much sin could she really perform in those last 2 weeks? It really wasn't, so she had chanted Hare Krishna. We believe the potency of the name, right? That just one chanting, what to speak of like chanting around with me, eradicates all the sins from previous life. You know, so this is the best we can do. Is to be as Krishna conscious as possible, and to help as many others become Krishna conscious in whatever way we can, through the books, through our own personality, inviting others, you know, whatever, being part of this whole movement. And this is really the only, because it's got Krishna's power behind it, you know, Lord Chaitanya's power. It can produce miracles. It already has. You know, did you know that the president? You didn't notice that in 1976 there was I don't know if this is well known, the first New York Rath Yatra. It was I wasn't able to be there. I was in L.A. Didn't have any money to go to New York, but it was a major event. 10 years after the movement started, 1966, Prabhupada, this whole 3 cars coming down Fifth Avenue. Prabhupada was going to be there. He was there, you know. And so, but how did it come about? You know, how were they able to build those carts? And you know, so they had Jayananda there. He was the expert in building it. He knew how to organize everything. But where are you going to build? You know, New York real estate is so impossible. How are you going to find a big lot somewhere in the middle of Manhattan to build it? So they found a place that was on top of an old abandoned subway station. There was some land there, you know. So they approached the owner, you know, see, can we use this vacant lot, you know, in order to build these carts? And who was the owner? Donald Trump. And he said, yes, go ahead. And that was the pious thing, the credit that he got. He actually said, I don't know why, you know, maybe he took some prasadam at one point, you know. But that was, anyway, that was, you know, that's how it happened. All kinds of miracles happened. I mean, I could tell you stories how the last night before, the Friday night before the Sunday, you know, they're building. They have Balaram's cart, they put the canopy up, and this big blast of wind came off the Hudson River and blew the whole thing over. You heard about this. Did Maheshwar ever tell you the story in L.A.? He was there. You know, he told the story in Alatra. And, I'm sorry, it's late. I'll have to come back tomorrow and learn hear this story. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. The curtains are going to open soon.